All right, we should be live. Let me just check very quickly to see if that's the case. Yes, we are live. What is up, everybody? I don't know why I'm stuttering already. But yeah, today we're gonna go over Henry David Thoreau. I don't think I've talked about Thoreau recently, but Thoreau is one of my favorite authors. He gets a lot of credit for Walden, which is probably his magnum opus, but he also has some interesting things to say about politics and standing up. And interestingly enough, he was the inspiration for both Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. with his civil disobedience essay, I guess you'd call it. What's up, Sarav? What's up, Just One Human? How's everybody today?
We've been told that modern life is the pinnacle of progress. Faster, smarter,
This like scenes from Taxi Driver.
more connected than ever before. It's definitely faster. But are we really more connected, like Zuckerberg keeps telling us?
Yeah, this is Zuckerberg before the glow up. I always forget that he used to look like this. Like, dude, like, how does this guy is the same person as the today Mark Zuckerberg? And I know it's like people like give him more credit because he's still the same person that has done the same things. And since he has a new haircut, they're like, oh, he must be cool now.
When the world feels more divided than at any time in living memory? Is it smarter? We know more facts than any generation before us, yet we're
This is something that Aldous Huxley said. Essentially, Huxley devoted his entire life to this idea. Is technology really progressing humanity or coming at the detriment of humanity? And that's really what he was talking about in Brave New World. All of these things that make life easier, that make life more comfortable, it takes away meaning, it takes away purpose, it takes away any reason and any use in a life. I can't stand alive. That's crazy. Can't believe you.
drowning in misinformation and noise. Is this living? Or is it a beautifully packaged trap? It's no secret we're bombarded with advertising and media telling
This is True Sage, by the way. This guy's. I would have expected this guy to have more subscribers,
us
but
what to want, what to buy, even who to admire and who to despise. Take Bacon, for example.
the funniest thing is like you have people arguing online, who's your favorite billionaire? Is your favorite billionaire Bill Gates or are you an Elon Musk stan? It's like, what? Why do you have to choose? Why do you have to choose about who's your favorite corporate oligarch that has so much control over your life and you really can't have a say about certain things? It's very backwards when you break it down into that sense.
A century ago, it wasn't the breakfast staple we
Who's your favorite corporate backed politician? Is it Trump? Is it Biden? Is it Pelosi? It's just like it's so weird.
think it is. In the
What's up, El
1920s,
Divo?
Edward
Devo?
Bernays, the nephew of Sigmund Freud and a pioneer of public relations,
This is the guy that's responsible for a lot of the advertising that has kind of occurred. Um, and like you said, he was related to. So this is where you see like kind of the carryover from like some of the more subliminal marketing. Like if you really look at like if but I don't know where you guys are from, but if you watch a football game, the ads aren't necessarily for products you can go out and buy directly from that company. A lot of the ads are just to incept that idea into your brain, to make you associate that brand with some sort of reliable you know, supplier of whatever it is that you're looking for. I couldn't think of the right word, but like when Coca-Cola makes an ad on TV, it doesn't necessarily increase their bottom line, but what it does is now when somebody goes to the store, they think, wow, Coca-Cola's right here. Why don't I just pick it up? I saw that ad. It's like, it's very weird. You know what I mean? Like there's no direct line to go buy it. Whereas like you see like a lawyer on a billboard, you can call that number and you could be like, hey, I need this service. It's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it?
was hired by the Beechnut Packing Company to boost sales. He persuaded thousands of doctors to endorse bacon and eggs as the hearty breakfast of successful people. Within a few
They there was even like a change, like the sugar industry, the cereal industry changed it to say that, oh, bacon and eggs is bad for your cholesterol, and that's why like a lot of our diet is based off of like this like archaic marketing. Like the amount of money that the sugar industry paid to have basically fatty foods demonized and not sugary foods demonized is just it's such a dirty game. It's just a dirty business, and it shows you that like, these institutions and these things that are supposed to be helping you, like these boards that regulate these ads and these boards that regulate what can and can't be said, like they're corrupted and they're not infallible. They're imperfect, and there are people with ulterior motives. And really the moral of the story is just don't be a sucker. Don't get caught. Don't be fooled. Like, think about why somebody's doing this thing. Think about why this is popular. Like when you see a certain marketing campaign, maybe there is some truth in it, but just see like the spin on it because there's all like these legalese terms and all of these legal ways to say something and not to make it sound as awful. Like think about the coverage on a certain news station that has a certain political leaning, and then go to the opposite news station and see the opposite political leaning. And the answer to what the true story is probably somewhere in the middle of that. But you need to aggregate. You need to, in some way, evaluate it from a bird's eye perspective.
Few years, Americans believed it was tradition, when in reality, it was advertising. Thoreau didn't live to see bacon marketed this way, but he saw the same pattern.
Thoreau was super fascinating because I this is something that I don't know why people don't talk about more, but essentially Thoreau was inspired by Emerson. Emerson was one of his, I think it was his professor. I can't remember exactly at the time, but essentially Emerson was a big reason why Thoreau published Walden in the first place. Not only did he push him to publish his essentially journal entries, but he also rented the land to Thoreau so that Thoreau could create a cabin and live on that land and live off of that land. And I was arguing with someone in the comments one time about when I said like essentially we don't get Walden without Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I said the pond was named after him. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but that's not the important part. Like we don't get Thoreau without Emerson.
In his own time, society teaching people what to want and calling it necessity. So, he made a radical choice. To walk away from it all, build a small cabin by a pond, and live as simply as possible. To see what would remain when
I think he lived in this cabin for around 2 years. And, Walden's interesting because it's not really what you expect it to be. It's no part affirmations, part reflection, part philosophy. It kind of blurs the line between various different genres, and that's what makes it so interesting and that's what makes it so fascinating. But essentially, when Thoreau went out into the woods and lived off the bare minimum, he was able to appreciate everything. He was able to appreciate the tools that he had. He was able to appreciate the insulation and his bed and his few chairs that he had for when people visited. It's like, think about it this way, like when you have the bare minimum, you can appreciate it. But when you have excess, that's when you begin to want more. The Bible says, and I think every other holy work as well says this, but essentially it's not that money is evil, it's the love of money that's evil. It's the need for more. It's the need to have more possessions. It's the need to continually expand your own place in this world that is going to eventually corrupt you.
life was stripped to its essentials. But he was no hermit. He still walked into town, visited friends, and welcomed guests. His experiment wasn't about hiding from the world. It was about seeing it more clearly. Before we explore what he discovered and why his ideas feel more urgent than ever, let's first meet the man behind them. And if you find value in this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. Henry David Thoreau was an American writer, philosopher, and
He really didn't write that much. There's obviously Walden, which is his most famous work, and then there's a few more essays. But I think he died either 41 or 45. He was in his 40s. And I think there's certain authors that obviously become prolific very young, but there's also the capacity to write well into old age, and especially for a philosopher, it's almost beneficial to have more time to explore your ideas. What's his name? Gautier. Did he say Gautier? I don't. The guy that wrote Faust, he finished it very. I think he finished in his 80s, maybe. but yeah, it's there's something there's something to be gained with a philosopher that can reach old age and continue to write because I feel like they have been able to play with these ideas for so long. And that's why it's a shame that Nietzsche was basically I think he died at 55, somewhere around there. But for the last 11 years of his life, he was kind of insane and couldn't really focus and couldn't really write. So like his career as well was cut very short.
Naturalist, born in 1817 in Concord, Massachusetts.
So he's known as a transcendentalist. I don't know if the guy said he said naturalist. Transcendentalist is essentially somebody that is in tune with nature. It's analogous to Taoism in the sense that everyone misconstrues it like, oh, if you go out and live in the woods, that's just a transcendentalist. And while that's a part of it, it's not just that literal. It's also you go and live with your own nature. And the transcendentalists believe that your own nature was more aligned with the older way of doing things, more hunter-gatherer, more farmer, more simplistic, more bare bones lifestyle. And I think there's a whole lot of truth in that. I mean, you look at you know, the average person that lives in a city, there's like a weird psyche that kind of develops from living on top of each other versus you go to a more rural side of things and people are more pleasant, people have more manners, people are more respectful, there's deeper sense of community, there's a deeper sense of family. And again, this is not a complete picture of things. There's obviously bad people in every sort of upbringing, but to me, it seems like there's almost like a virtue that's gained from being kind of away from things, being kind of away from the hustle bustle of life and the need to constantly be striving for things in this world versus just existing, just living off the bare means of things.
He was part of the Transcendentalist movement alongside figures like Ralph Waldo Emerson, who believed that truth could be found in nature, self-reflection.
This is Emerson right here. I think this is Emily Dickinson. I might be wrong. And this is the guy that wrote Moby Dick. I don't remember his name. Herman Melville or something like that.
And moral integrity. In 1845, at the age of 27, Thoreau began the experiment that would define his legacy. On a patch of land owned by Emerson, he built a modest one-room cabin on the shores of Walden Pond. For just over 2 years, he lived there largely self-sufficiently, growing food, reading, writing, and observing the changing seasons. From this experience came Walden, part memoir, part social critique, part guide to living with purpose.
I think it's around 300 pages, and if you haven't picked it up, it's one of those books that I think pretty much everyone can gain something from. If I had to have like a top 5 books you must read, maybe that's a good video idea. Walden's definitely in that. Um, Although I might put Emerson in that instead because they kind of are the same when it comes to beliefs. I think there's a lot of carryover between Thoreau, Emerson, and Nietzsche. I know there's not really a clear carryover, but a lot of the things they're saying is exactly the same. Maybe it's just applied differently.
And in his essay Civil Disobedience, he argued that no
This is the essay that inspired Gandhi to be a political activist and do so with nonviolence. And it's also what inspired Martin Luther Jr. to become a political activist and express nonviolence. And essentially, civil disobedience is the idea that you just have to stand up to the powers that be and show them what they're doing is wrong and be willing to lose everything for it. And essentially, the central, there's a few things that Thoreau protested. One was a poll tax. So basically stating that if you had a vote, you had to register and pay a tax to vote, which doesn't seem right at all. It should be something that's free and readily available if it's so important. And then he also said something along the lines of, I'm an independent voter because I like to vote first based off of who I believe has the best policies, who I believe has the most to say and is the most beneficial to the country. But if I am going to vote Democrat or if I'm going to vote Republican, I have to vote for a candidate that's pre-selected by these parties. Like I, as an independent voter, can't vote in either primary. So why do I have to vote for these pre-selected, pre-approved, pre-screened candidates. And it's a fairly interesting point, and it's it's really talking about partisanism in a day and age before partisanism. This guy right here, he was an abolitionist, so that means he lived somewhere around the Civil War. Just that's I don't remember the exact year, but him and Emerson were very staunch abolitionists and very progressive for the day and age. But the other thing that he protested was, I think it was the Spanish American War. I might be wrong about the name of the war, but essentially Thoreau didn't want to pay taxes and have to like give money to a country that was in his eyes partaking in an unjust war. He believed in defensive wars, but he didn't believe in aggressive wars. And essentially, he sat in a jailhouse until his aunt paid the tax, and he was sitting in this jailhouse to make a statement, and it was very powerful and very inspiring. And then he was pissed off because his aunt paid. He was like, "You ruined my point." But it's a it just goes to show that this is a man of principle. This is a man of character. This is a man with a heroic sense of right and wrong.
No one should passively obey laws they know to be unjust, an idea that would later inspire Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. But what was it about life in his own time that drove Thoreau to such a radical experiment? To answer that, we have to face what he might call the lie of modern life. Thoreau believed that most people, even in the 19th century, were living in quiet desperation, lives consumed by work, debt, and the pursuit of things that never truly satisfy. In the 1840s, the United States was industrializing. Cities grew louder, workdays grew longer, and the belief that more possessions meant more happiness was spreading fast. Thoreau saw this as a dangerous illusion, that people were becoming prisoners to their own comforts, working endlessly to buy things they didn't need.
And it's interesting to see that this problem's only gotten worse. Think of the entire modern day projected life for you. It's all pursuing debt for the sake of pursuing things. And it's very sad that like most of our lives we spend simply trying to get out of debt. Like you go to college, you pay all this money just so that you can get out of debt. And it's like, what? Why don't why don't we think there's another way? And again, there's arguments for college. There's arguments that there's certain jobs that need those qualifications, and if that's the job you want to take, go ahead and do that. But I think it's a very weird idea that we all have to keep up with the Joneses, that we all have to make something of ourselves because, in the end, every accomplishment you ever have is null and void. There is going to be a day and age where people forget, Donald Trump or Barack Obama or Joe Biden. Like, there's going to be a day and age where everything you think you think is important, no longer remains in the memory of anybody that's alive, and there are no records of it. And it's like, you think you're going to be so memorable that you're going to remain. It's a very weird, like, fleeting pursuit that we all sort of strive for, and yet it's futile. Hello, greetings from Norway/Poland. I'm a fan of your channel since I found your channel in Book of Mere Dad book review. Oh, thank you, man. That's awesome, dude. The Book of Mere Dad is that book is something special. Have you read it yet? It's probably still my favorite book since I read it like a year ago. I'm gonna reread it fairly soon. Um, I don't know why I haven't to this point because I feel like I'm just gonna get a whole another appreciation for it reading it again. But yeah, when I was reading that, I was like, this is something special, and there's a lot to be gained from this.
For Thoreau, the lie wasn't just that modern life could make you happy. It was the belief that constant motion, consumption, and connection were the same as living. Much of what we chase isn't even what we truly want. It's what we've been taught to want.
Think of the most of the decisions we make on a daily basis. Do we do it because it's what we really want, or do we do it because it's what people want of us? And that's really a question that the more you start asking yourself, the more you start finding yourself. Because simply what you want is to be yourself. Simply what you want is to live completely absolved of any need to please other people. Looking in the mirror and saying, "Oh, well, I don't have this, I don't have that." Like looking at your life and just being content. this is something that Buddha said, all suffering comes from desire, and all desire comes from the need for other people to like us, the need to feel good about ourselves. Because what is chasing a fancy car? What is chasing a fancy house? You can never really use all that space. You can never really use all that that all those cars you have or whatever it is that possessions you think are going to make you happy. But essentially, what it's stating is that, oh, I'm so important, so I must feel valuable. I must look in the mirror and like myself because I'm so important to other people. It's just so weird. Because if you look in the mirror and you're already satisfied, then you can walk through this world needing nothing else. Yes, I actually did. It's one of the best books. Treasure, True Treasure of Wisdom. Yeah. Yeah, I want to, like I just said, I want to reread it because I feel like it's only going to age better. And if you liked the Book of Your Dad, you don't have to pick up this specific version, but the Khalil Gibran as well. Dude, this guy he was best friends with I think it's Mikal Naimi. I think that's how you say it, and they share a lot of similarities in their writing style. So I would pick up Khalil Gibran.
We've already seen it with bacon. In the 1970s, Nestle faced a challenge. Coffee wasn't part of Japanese culture, so they hired marketing consultant Clotaire Rapaille, who recommended a bold approach.
Dude, Nestle is one of the most evil corporations. Nestle, the CEO of Nestle, who's now like the head of some like shady conglomerate that operates in Europe. I don't know if it's the WEF or whatever it is. The CEO that's now the head of that after Klaus Schwab stepped down said that water is not a human right and we should be able to charge whatever the hell we want for it. It's so crazy. I recently started to practice Sufi mantras. I have a deep love for Sufi poetry. Yeah, Sufi poetry is tremendous. Have you read any William Blake? I love Blake as well. William Blake, Khalil Gibran and Rumi are my favorite poets, I would say. Shakespeare is good, but he's not as esoteric.
Introduced the taste of coffee to children long before they were old enough to drink it. Nestle launched coffee-flavored sweets, making the flavor feel familiar and even comforting. By the time those children grew up, coffee no longer felt foreign. Within a generation, Japan had become one of the world's largest coffee markets.
I saw this somewhere. I can't remember where I saw this. You have honestly the best book channel on the internet. Remarkable achievement for someone as young as you. Thank you. I don't know if it's the best book channel. It's me. So like it's very honest. So if you like honesty, if you like authenticity, that's probably why you like it. But there's definitely book channels that are more organized that have more in-depth analysis, but that wouldn't be fun for me. What's fun for me is to talk about my feelings about books, my ideas about books, my conception, the books I like. That's fun to me. And the moment this feels like a job is the moment I stop doing it. So it's just all about keeping it fun for myself. Love your channel, bro. Haven't commented until now. Well, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I feel like there's definitely a lot of people that watch the channel that never comment because I can always just see like I get a certain amount of likes no matter what. So just know that there's people that have never commented, and for you guys, there's a special place in my heart because I am always on YouTube and I never comment. So don't feel like you have to. You're good just lurking here, good just being a passive observer. As long as you're enjoying it, that makes me happy. So, but yeah, thank you so much for being here. I'm very authentic and talk about books from a deep spiritual point of view. Yeah, I mean that's just how I view things. There's obviously some drawback because I feel like it kind of makes me bored about certain types of books. Like it's very difficult for me to read a lot of fiction because it just doesn't have the same depth as some of the works I like. But in other ways, it's nice. This is one of the best book channels along with Hayes Reviews. I'll look that up. I don't know who that is. I'll do that right now so I can remember. Watch it be like the worst channel ever. You're just like trolling me. I think you're being nice, but you're just being mean.
I find these stories quite intriguing and some even shocking. If you know about any stories like these, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear them. So Thoreau's warning becomes clear. If our taste can be manufactured, so can our lives. His remedy was simple, but it asked something most people aren't willing to give: the courage to live deliberately. I went to the woods, Thoreau wrote, because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. For him, this meant reducing life.
I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to discover that I had not lived. That's a tremendous way of putting it. Essentially, what he's saying is he felt empty in the life he was living, and he felt like there was something more, but to find more, he had to find himself. And the only way to find himself was to get away from all of the distractions, to get away from all of the craziness in the world. Should give it a try to drive your plow over the bones. It's a nice. Okay.
To what mattered most: food, shelter, honest work, time to think. Everything else was either a luxury or a distraction. He built his cabin for about $28, roughly a month's rent in Boston, grew beans and potatoes, spent hours walking in the woods, and recorded the rhythms of the natural world. This was not about rejecting
Reading, like, so he puts it in like almost like a Excel spreadsheet, and it's so frustrating because this guy built an entire cabin that he lived for 2 years for like $100, and you're like, come on, like, why can't I get the same price? I need to start reading Walden ASAP. It's I don't know if it's so it's not going to be what you think it is, but you're going to like it for that reason. I think that's the easiest way to put it. It's something completely unique, and it's something that is astoundingly deep, but not really intending to be, because he's kind of just writing down his experience, but it's it's very eye-opening into what really matters in this world, and what we really need to focus on, and it kind of just gives you the perspective of like, the more I try to have in this world, the more I'm going to feel empty. Whereas if I can express an appreciation of gratitude for the life I already have, express an appreciation of gratitude for just being alive, then I can find purpose, then I can find happiness. It's almost I compare a lot of transcendentalism and, Thoreau or Emerson to Taoism a lot. I think it's fairly analogous in a lot of the beliefs. Maybe the terms are differently, or the terms are different. Maybe there's some semantic differences, but to me, there's just a constant trend that I just see them as the same.
all comfort or society. The point wasn't isolation, it was intention. He learned that simplicity is a form of freedom. The fewer possessions, commitments, and
Emptiness is also a value, and we see it from a different Buddhist perspective. Yeah, it's there's the Taoist idea of Wu Wei, which is very similar to what you're talking about. Um, which is like no action, or I like to think of it as effortless action. Like when you lose yourself in what you're doing, you lose yourself in living, and you're not thinking about things. Because like think of your most surreal, your most happy moments. It's always the times where you're sitting down, you're with people that you love, you're with people that mean something to you, and you're not thinking about the past, you're not thinking about the future, you're just thinking about what's going on right now. What's the conversation? You kind of forget about everything else that matters. I love Wu Wei. Yeah, I think Wu Wei is one of the most compelling ideas, because it's an idea that we can all kind of aspire to achieve, at least in little moments every day in our life. Like I'm sure we all have things that we just lose ourselves in. Like, I mean, for me, reading is a big one. Why do you think I read so much? Like, I can kind of, I wouldn't even say escape from the world, but I can kind of just get a glimpse of life through someone else's eyes, get a glimpse of someone else's experience, and kind of find myself in that. And it's just a tremendous, like, calm to get away from the pressures of the day to day, the pressures of trying to, I hate saying it this way because, like, I don't really struggle to survive. I don't really struggle for anything, but like there's this idea in my head that I do. And it's like getting away from that idea, getting away from the pressure of my parents or society as a whole to make something of myself, to follow a traditional career path, to do all these sorts of things that really aren't me on the inside. When we let go and practice a thankful heart, then miracles happen. Yes. That's a tremendous way to put it. I really like that.
Manufactured once you carry, the more space you have for what truly matters. He learned that true wealth isn't measured by what you own. A man is rich, he wrote, in proportion to the number of things which he can afford to let alone. Nature, too, became one of his greatest teachers. The turning of the seasons, the stillness of the pond, the slow growth of his bean field, all reminded him that life has its own rhythms, often out of step with human urgency. And his time in the woods deepened his belief in resisting conformity. Whether it was the pull of fashion,
Again, all of these ideas are purely inspired from Emerson. So like I think you can kind of get a better glimpse into what he talk about if you've previously read Emerson, but I wouldn't say it's a requirement.
the demand to
You
work
have to become
endlessly
a
for
member.
unnecessary comforts,
Thank you so much. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Damn. That's so crazy. I don't think I've obviously had people donate, but I haven't had anyone become a channel member. So you're the first channel member. Welcome. Welcome.
or the pressure to
So
accept
cool.
unjust laws, Thoreau believed that integrity sometimes meant standing apart from the crowd. And simplicity for Thoreau wasn't just material, it was also spiritual. Each morning at Walden, he turned to a text that connected
So like what he's talking about is presence. Like I've talked about it previously, the power of now or Taoist beliefs or even like through meditation. It's like there's a all meditation is trying to get your mind to calm down and get to a deeper sense of consciousness, which is a spiritual experience, we can say. So it's like there's all of these like deep mystical ideas wrapped in such a simple idea. I mean, it's like think about it this way, like you can follow all these fancy diets, or you could just eat whole foods and eat very nutrient rich foods, and you'll be very healthy. It's like the power is really in the small things. The power is really in the repetition of these small things that really make a difference in your life. What's up?
him to
How's
something
everything?
far older than America itself. Thoreau's time at Walden was not only about chopping wood and growing beans, it was also about nourishing the mind. One of his greatest sources of inspiration was the Bhagavad Gita, the ancient Hindu scripture.
The Gita is tremendous. If you haven't read the Gita, it's like 70 pages. It's written in the style of poetry, but it's not that hard to read. It's not like it doesn't rhyme, it doesn't use difficult words. Obviously, it's a translation. The one I've read, I don't read. I don't know it. I don't know the language that it's in, but I don't read whatever language that it's in. It's a very good book, and I really recommend reading it. It's inspired people such as Thoreau, Emerson, Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, Jung. Pretty much all of the great Western minds have read the great Eastern works. Recently started reading more about the Vedas. What a beautiful synchronicity. Yeah, the Vedas have some very interesting There's so many ads. No, you don't have to watch the ads. Just I can lower it. I just put whatever normal setting. My bad. Sanskrit probably. Yeah, I thought I was gonna say Sanskrit, but I'm not sure. Like I don't know how old the language is. Like you know what I mean? Like I don't want to just speak out of pure ignorance. I can turn off the mid-roll ads. I don't know how to do. I don't know if I can do it right now, but I'll change it for the next.
I bathe my intellect in the stupendous and cosmogonal philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, he wrote in Walden, in comparison with which our modern world and its literature seem puny and trivial. What he found in its pages was a call to live with detachment, simplicity, and integrity. To measure life not by possession.
I bathe my intellect in the stupendous and cosmogonal philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita. Since position years of gods have elapsed, and in comparison with our modern world and its literature seem puny and trivial. Wow, that's quite a quote. just to talk about the significance of a book.
Attachment, simplicity, and integrity.
Hey, happy to be here. Really amazing
To
to find
measure life not by
like-minded
possessions,
folks.
but by truth.
Yeah, I feel like this is a, I don't know. There's obviously like people that come and try to troll, but like I feel like for the most part, it's a pretty good mix of people like fun and having interesting conversations.
It echoed his own experiment to strip away the non essential and ask, what does it really mean to live? And from those mornings of reflection, joined with the work of his hands, Thoreau carried away more than journals. He carried a philosophy of life, lessons that still challenge us today. Every so often, someone tries this again. In 2006, writer Colin Beavan tried a modern version of Thoreau's question. He called it No Impact.
There's a, I think it's B.F. Skinner. I think that's who wrote it, but yeah, it was B.F. Skinner. He wrote Walden too. I haven't read it yet, but apparently that's a good book as well. I don't think anything like the original Walden.
Man. A year
There's also the book Into the Wild. I'm sure he's going to talk about it. No, he doesn't talk about it. But there's this book Into the Wild that's fiction inspired by an actual guy that was inspired by Walden, who went out and lived in the woods and unfortunately passed away. But
year in
it's weird
Manhattan.
because we had to read that book in like my class had to read that book in high school, but we didn't read Walden. It was like we're gonna read a depressing version of a story inspired by one of the best books ever written, but we're not gonna read one of the best books ever written. It's very
Attempting to cut his family's net environmental
probably
impact to
intentional.
zero. No elevators, no disposable packaging, no takeout or motorized transport. Local, seasonal food. Evenings by candlelight. He wasn't preaching purity.
This is dumb though, because this is like a political leaning. This is not like a spiritual experience, which kind of misses the whole point of Walden, where it's not like he's not protesting anything about the world. He's just protesting his own life, essentially. Like Walden is just him standing up to his entire worldview and trying to find something better. You heard of Joanna Macy? She was a scholar of Buddhism, general systems theory, and deep ecology. No,
He was testing how much of
you're
necessity
giving
is
me a
just
lot of stuff to
habit,
look up. Thank
and
you.
whether less might actually feel like more. Like Thoreau, he didn't withdraw from life. He reframed it. From a pond in 1845 to a high-rise in 2006, the question hasn't changed. What does it mean to live deliberately? To live deliberately, for Thoreau, was to stop moving on autopilot. It meant slowing down enough to ask, why am I doing this? Do I really need this? Does it bring me closer to the life I want? Do I need
So I think I said this earlier, like ask yourself why are you making this decision and who is it trying to please? And if it's not like a moral compass that you feel in your own heart, then it's not something that you should guide yourself toward.
another pair of shoes to impress someone who doesn't even notice? Does picking up my phone first thing in the morning and doom scrolling help me? Does getting into debt to buy something that makes me happy for only a moment make sense? We live in an age where rest is treated as laziness and consumption is sold as identity. The average person now spends more than 6 hours a day on digital media. Yet much
That's it. Dude, I wonder, I don't even know what my screen time is. I don't want to check because you guys make fun of me, whatever it is. But I feel like a lot of my screen time comes from me like having videos on in the background. You can't read books without spiritual experience or really struggle with finding time to read something with no such value. Yeah, I can agree with that in some regards. There's also times where I just want like think like there's times where you want to watch The Sopranos, and then there's times where you want to watch like a Jason Statham movie. That's how I like to see it. Like obviously, like if every book I read is a spiritually deep one, I feel like it's kind of gets old and everything kind of repeats at a certain point. Like for a while, that's all I was reading, but then I was just like, this is all the same. So now it's like it's more interesting to me to read like older fiction that's kind of spliced with these ideas and see where their inspirations are. Like right now, I'm reading The Count of Monte Cristo, and it's very interesting because Alexander Dumas kind of spliced in like almost an alchemical transformation through the journey of Edmond Dantes. I think that's how you say it. However long you say it. Sometimes I take a break from spiritual topics, fully understand. Yeah, yeah. I don't know, because like I don't feel like unless I'm reading like a book that's like thousands of years old, I don't really think I'm gonna get much from most authors, especially like because think about how many of those spiritual books are just like fluff. Like, have you ever gone on like a spiritual YouTube page and the person's like borderline schizophrenic and they're like telling you what you should do with your life? Like, dude, I was on Instagram the other day and I thank God I don't remember who this person was, but they were like teaching you the secrets of the universe, and then one of the videos was like I've neglected my dental health for years, and I'm like, why would I listen to you? Like, if you got gunk in your mouth, like, what do you think's in your brain? Like, I've seen the movie based on the book, dude. So the movie, well, it depends what movie. Most of the versions of the movie change the entire ending. It's not at all like the movie. The movie's like a swashbuckling tale of this guy that basically becomes a hero and redeems himself and takes the revenge and is righteous. Not like that at all. It's more morally gray. This guy's kind of plotting. He's this great tactician who is implementing the downfall of all of his enemies, and he's doing it through establishing himself in high society and orchestrating all of these plots. And I don't know where it's going, but I know he's not going to end up with the chick he was originally married to, or going to marry to. New age authors. I think there's a few. Eckhart Tolle is really good. Eckhart Tolle is tremendous. Um, like he's something special, Eckhart Tolle. Because I was so somebody told me to read his book, The Power of Now, and I got it on sale at a thrift store, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Somebody told me to read this. I got it for like $3. It's one of the best books I've read in a while. It really is tremendous. And Neville Goddard he's a new age author. He's really good. I'm trying to think of other people that are new age that are. I mean, obviously you have like Napoleon Hill, people like that, which I don't find as inspiring as Neville, but I don't know. It's probably just preference for that kind of stuff. Yeah, Eckhart Tolle is an exception. I've had to accept the fact I won't be able to consume even 1% of the material I find fascinating, be that books, videos, articles, etc. Well, the good news for you is that I think at a fundamental level, a lot of the stuff's the same. So while you won't be able to consume it, you'll be able to get at least some of the same soul. I need to find this book ASAP, and alchemical process can be something valuable. Yeah, I'm reading the abridged version, unfortunately. Dude, I bought this book like a year ago or 2 years ago. Don't remember buying it. It was on my shelf for a while. Turns out it's like half of the length of the original. So I need to read this one because I'm almost done with it. I'm just going to finish it. And then I need to read the full 1200 page Count of Monte Cristo. I feel like spirituality is a luxury whilst we live in a highly political and really busy world. Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, I feel like you either go crazy, like if you don't like politics, you either go crazy and just become like an edgelord or you go into spiritual things. I think it's like kind of one path or the other. So yeah, I don't know though. To me, spirituality is just like finding, I hate to boil it down to such a simplistic thing, like just finding yourself and like finding what you want out of life. To me, like I don't think it's anything deeper. I don't think it's like chakras or obviously you can do these kind of things like chakras or meditation, but I mean, if you really just want to think about it in a grand scheme of things, it's just that way. The reason the world is in so much turmoil politically in the first place is because we turn away from spirituality. I don't even know that because I feel like the world's always kind of turned away from spirituality. There's like even religious systems are not very spiritual. You know what I mean? Like there's a very dogmatic kind of religious structure in most religions, and it's not really embracing the soul or the spirit. It's kind of like dumbing down all of these things. What I really think it is just people that can't accept themselves are asking for the world to change, and it's more it's a lot easier to see things that upset you and get upset about them, and it's like a continually continual cycle of me getting outraged online, me saying something, me outraging other people. It's like a vicious cycle of that things.
Much of it leaves us more distracted and anxious than fulfilled. Thoreau's call to simplify isn't nostalgia for a lost age. It's a blueprint for taking back control. Whether that means a digital detox, the slow living movement, minimalism, or sustainable living. He believed that true wealth was measured not by what you own, but by how much of your life you can truly call your own. Which leaves us with a question Thoreau
That's a great way to put it. How much of your life can you call your own is a true measure of wealth. There's a lot of carryover between religion and spirituality, but they're not really. This is something Nietzsche said, and a lot of people don't understand what Nietzsche said. God is dead and man killed him. What he was saying is that the institutions that preach God are no longer institutions of enlightenment, they're institutions of slavery and control, essentially, is what he's saying. And you can really see what he's saying when you read his other quote. Jesus was the last Christian. Yeah, I think it was, yeah. 'Cause there's two very famous quotes. There's one by Osho, there's one by Nietzsche, but he said Jesus was the last Christian, essentially saying that Jesus was the last Christian who lived like Christ, and that, if more people did that, then the world would be a much better place, and it would actually be upholding the ideals the church is saying to exemplify, which I think there's something very deep and powerful in that idea.
would still ask today. Are we living deliberately or just living by default? So, is modern life a lie? Maybe not in the sense of a deliberate deception, but it can be an unexamined story we tell ourselves, that faster is better, that more is richer, that convenience is worth any cost. Thoreau's 2 years at Walden were not an escape from life, they were a search for it.
It's funny too, because he only lived in this cabin for 2 years, and the rest of his life he lived in a city, and like he's just living in the woods. Like I made a video about Walden, and someone was trying to tear down the video of like, oh, this book wasn't really what people believe it to be, and it's like, who cares? Who cares about the context of the book? It doesn't change the message inside of it.
He wanted to know what remained when you strip away everything you're told to want. His lesson isn't that we should all move to the woods. It's that we should consciously choose how we live. What
I'm glad he said that because I feel like a lot of people, at least people who haven't read it, kind of perceive this book to be like, oh, go be minimalist, go live in the woods, go do this. No, no, listen to yourself. Listen to things you really want, and listen to things that really make you happy. And if you live that way, then you're happy. Can I recommend a book? I have a love-hate relationship, but it's beautiful when it comes to many. Anastasia. Is that what it's called?
we value and how we spend our time. Because time is the one thing we can never earn back. As he wrote, rather than love, than money, than fame, give me truth. So maybe the better question is, what would your own Walden look like? If you found value in this video, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And join us on our journey of discovering ourselves, the world around us, and the greatest minds and ideas. Thank you very much for watching.
Yes. Okay. I can't find it. I'll have to look somewhere else, I think. I'll write that down. I'll write that down. Let's go to another one of these guys' videos. If I can find a short one, because I have like 20 more minutes that I can stream. No short videos. The problem is it takes me so long to go through all of these things. Like 9 minutes for me is like usually an hour. Okay, this is 2 minutes.
Psychological projection occurs when individuals attribute their own negative qualities to others or their environment.
So essentially, Jung believed that anything you say about someone else is really what you believe about yourself. So like the faults in others are the faults you find in yourself. And there's something fundamental about this, and there's something that you need to observe about this because if you don't begin to observe these more unconscious forces, they're going to continually take control of you, continually hold you back. Anastasia teaches unity with nature, seeds Ritos. Okay, that's interesting.
Thus distorting their perception of reality and hindering true self-awareness. To a neutral observer, it may be evident that these attributions are simply projections, yet the person doing the projecting often cannot recognize this reality.
Watching American police body cam videos makes me truly happy. Dude, police body cam videos are so good. Maybe we'll react to them at some point because I do know the law, so we can. I just don't want to get into trouble saying the wrong thing because I'll be honest.
They must first confront the extensive influence of their own shadow to begin withdrawing these emotionally charged projections. Consider a person who completely denies their tendency to project. In such scenarios, it's the unconscious mind that dominates the projecting process.
There's some level of projection in everything. Usually, it's not usually completely direct, but there's something buried in that. So, like, what insults do you say about other people? If you say, "Oh, this person's an idiot," "Oh, this person's dumb," like, there's probably something in you that either doesn't believe you're as smart as you think you are, or doesn't see what your intelligence has gotten you. It's like you're smart, but you haven't gotten anything. So, like, what good does it do for you? Like, there's all sorts of like interesting threads to pull at and kind of understand yourself on a much deeper level. And it's to view your projection and view the things that upset you is to view yourself in an unbiased lens. And it's almost a lot easier than looking into dreams because dreams you oftentimes forget, and oftentimes the symbols are far too hard to observe. So there's that element of it.
Shaping their reality based on illusions.
I'll be right back. Give me like 2 minutes. All right, I'm back. Oh, I need a new chair. This chair hurts my back so much. I stand up and it feels like my legs just fell asleep. That series of books resonates with longing for harmony. It shows general rituals and everyday spiritual small acts. That's interesting. We really lost connection with nature. Yeah.
This results in a skewed worldview, turning the world into a reflection of the individual's unrecognized self. Consequently, they may feel incomplete and empty, mistakenly blaming external forces for these feelings, which further.
You can see it now. Like, think about how many people want the entire world to change and not themselves. And if that isn't projection, I don't know what. All the people clamoring right now with the recent events that happened, I don't feel like talking about them. I don't think it's like really my place. Um, but essentially, it's everyone in the world is demanding that, oh, the whole world has to change, but not me. There's like a very ironic side to that.
Exacerbates their isolation. As more projections accumulate, the gap between the individual and the true nature of reality broadens, making it increasingly challenging to see through the self-created illusions. It's often distressing to see someone inadvertently damage their own life and affect others, all while being unaware that the source of these problems lies within themselves.
It's never my fault. It's always the other person. If the same thing keeps happening to me, it must be that everyone else in the world is wicked. It's not my fault.
Unwittingly, they continue to feed into their own suffering. Although they are preoccupied with blaming an apparently unfair world that fails to meet their expectations, the actual root of their discontent lies much closer to them. As Carl Jung suggested, convincing the individual that they are the source of these extensive projections is crucial. They need to recognize that they are casting a very long shadow before they can begin to retract their emotionally laden projections.
Once you can see that you're somewhat responsible for the problem, then you can start to fix it. But until you can see that, you'll never be able to make any progress. And that's to me, that's what it really comes down to. The seven archetypes that reveal your true self. Jung never had archetypes. Jung's archetypes were very broad. That's so there's this channel. Fake news. I was arguing with this old lady one time in Barnes and Nobles, and she was trying to like school me on the Constitution, which is like I'm the last person you want to try to talk about the Constitution with because I'm just such a snob about it. But essentially, like I said, the news is fake, and her mind just broke. And it's like, if you believe the news, you're an absolute fool. Read Chomsky's Manufacturing Consent and then get back to me. Eastern philosophy meets nihilism. Four stages of thinking. Thomas Aquinas. I don't know enough about Aquinas. Responsibility is the clue, exactly. Yeah. These days, people just use the term projection as an insult. They will say you are projecting whenever you bring up something to their notice. Yes. Yeah, it's hilarious how like I mean, people have like weaponized psychology words in order to like kind of control the rules of engagement and the way that you can converse. It's very weird. I like the title of the video, The Rebel. I like the title of the video, I Rebel, Therefore I Am. What is it? I Rebel, Therefore I Exist is the title. Yeah. That's a damn, you've been here forever then. Or maybe you just saw that recently. I was gonna say I did that video like a very long time ago. Many people are pointing the fingers to others and trying to blame them and make them feel guilty about being different and sick. Responsibility is the clue, exactly. Yeah. Dude, it's so weird that like we're told to it's great to look different today, but it's not okay to believe different things. Words carry energy, yeah. I mean, words are just symbols. The irony is Chomsky's worshippers eat up everything on the news. I hate even dude, even Chomsky himself has said some really dumb shit about free speech, and it pisses me off so much because he's just so thick in the head he doesn't understand what he's implicating. Like it's very dumb. In the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer. Wow. It's
What
a
if life has
it's a
no
great
higher
quote.
purpose, no cosmic justice, no divine plan?
Camus was an absurdist. Yeah, he was an absurdist. Very different from existentialism. I was arguing with somebody in the comments about this. Absurdism and existentialism are different. Existentialism is the idea that you can assign some meaning to this life through what you value. Absurdism is that there's no meaning and that's what gives it meaning. Big difference here. What an amazing quote of Camus. Yeah.
Just time passing, things happening, and then silence. To most people, that thought is unbearable. But for the French philosopher Albert Camus, it was the starting point of something liberating. Camus didn't try to escape this reality. He faced it head on and offered a response that was as radical as it was hopeful. This is the story of the absurd, and why for
Okay, so the difference between absurdism and nihilism is the greatest example of nihilism versus absurdism is George Carlin. George Carlin did everything wrong with the world, but decided to laugh about it, decided to enjoy it because you might as well. Whereas a nihilist would be depressed and would say nothing means anything. Why should I do anything? Like there's a difference between an absurdist that believes that there's no inherent value, and thus there's no responsibility to do anything, and thus I could do what I want. And then there's the nihilist that's like petrified with this idea that nothing matters and nothing will ever matter and there's no meaning or purpose or value to anything. That's essentially the difference. And there's think about it this way, the way I like to define absurdism, Camus has the famous quote, "You must imagine Sisyphus smiling in spite of the monotony." But I like to imagine like this: if there's no meaning to anything, then there's no thing you have to do. So like if there was a meaning to life, if you had to be a productive member of society, then you would have to go to college, you would have to get a career, you would have to take certain actions. But because there's no meaning, you have the ultimate freedom to do what it is that you want to do. You have the ultimate freedom to be inspired by the things that you really love.
For Camus, the most honest way to live is to accept life's lack of meaning and still choose to live it deeply. Albert Camus was haunted by a single unsettling idea, that humans desperately crave meaning, yet the universe offers none. We build religions, write stories, and search the stars, hoping something out there will explain the chaos of life. But Camus believed we're met with silence. The world is indifferent. Accidents happen. Good people suffer. Nothing adds up. This clash between our desire for clarity and the world's refusal to provide it is what Camus called the absurd. It's not just philosophical, it's deeply personal. You wait.
I don't think Camus was an atheist. I don't think he believed in God, but I don't think he was an atheist. I specifically remember him saying that he wasn't an
Wake up,
atheist, but
go to work, come home, repeat. Then one day you ask,
I think it's like the actually no, Bertrand Russell probably called himself an atheist, but it's the you can never quite know everything, so how could I make a statement about this? I think that's Camus' motivation to saying that. Or it's also his inability to kind of want to coin himself as anything because he rejected the idea that he was an existentialist.
why? Camus didn't see this question as depressing. He saw it as essential. In his book, The Myth of Sisyphus, he writes, there is but one truly serious philosophical problem, and that is suicide. But hold on. Camus wasn't encouraging suicide. In fact, he was trying to stop it. His point was this: if life is absurd, we face a temptation to escape.
Expectations from society take away many people's joy from life. Too much talent is already being unnoticed and wasted. Commercialism and stuff. Yeah, I think it's a fine because obviously there's like how things are streamlined and how accessible certain things are and how beneficial it is. But like everything, you gotta take it with a grain of salt. You can't be all like this. Can't like it's weird how people have a economic system as their end all be all. Like you have people that are like, oh, if the world was just communist, then everything would be okay. Or oh, if the world was just capitalist, then everything would be like, what? It's very weird. So I think there has to be like more of a balance. I think, you know, there's some elements of commercialism that's okay because it means that, I can go out and buy books. Like, am I gonna argue against commercialism if I can go to a bookstore? Like, no, there's good elements of it, but I think too many people are pushed down this path of meaninglessness and then expect to find meaning.
Some escape literally, others escape symbolically through philosophical suicide, inventing illusions, pretending there's a greater purpose, turning to religion, dogma.
Dude, we're all too much of an idealist, though. Come on. Like, we're all too much of an idealist. Like, to say you're not an idealist is to not be a human being because we all are kind of guided by archetypes. So it's like, it's just recognizing that capacity to sometimes simplify issues that are far more difficult than we can imagine. And that's really, as long as you check yourself and as long as you notice it, it's not a bad thing. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to aspire to be something better, but it's when we think that it's going to solve everything that it's because like even if you talk to like political figures, they're like, if I got my agenda done, then everything would be perfect. But like this is something that Thomas Sowell said, and it's not just for politics; it's also for the world as a whole. And I don't know if Sowell meant it to be so profound, but essentially what he said was, there's no such thing as solutions. There's only trade-offs. And this is true for absolutely everything in life, whether it comes to metaphysics, whether it comes to the physical world, like whether it comes to relationships. There's no such thing as solutions, there's only trade-offs. There's only compromise. And is this trade-off worthwhile? Does it benefit more people versus harm more people? And like we have to be okay with those trade-offs. And I think there's a fundamental nature to this that is just, Emerson wrote about this. He said there's no such thing as a great characteristic that is not also a horrific one. Meaning that like Caesar's ambition drove him to become one of the greatest generals in all of Roman history, but it also led to his death because he sought more and more and more and more power until finally people had enough and said, no, we don't want this tyrant to be a ruler. And the Ides of March happened. Like there's no such thing as a bad characteristic that's not also good. There's good and bad in everything, and it's just our ability to perceive it that assigns good and bad.
or ideology, not out of faith, but out of fear. But for Camus, both are a betrayal. They
This
deny
is
the absurd rather than face it. To truly live, we must look reality in the eye, without appeal, without illusion. So if we can't escape, what do we do?
so this is something that where is it? I don't see the book. I don't know how to say it. Jean-Paul Sartre, something like that. Jean-Paul Sartre in Existentialism is a Humanism said that we have the ultimate responsibility. And to many people, this is petrifying. So, like, this is why you see so many people turning to nihilism today because they see their inability to change. They see their inability to respond better. But Seder said that to other people, it's inspiring because if you know how you have the ultimate responsibility in some way over everything you do, then you have the capacity to bring yourself into a better existence. What am I reading now? I am reading The Count of Monte Cristo, but I'm reading an abridged version. I'm kind of mad because I want to read the real version. But once I finish this, I'll order the real one and I'll get to it at some point. Um, and then I'm gonna read Modern Man in Search for a Soul or Search of a Soul by Jung. Um, there's a few things that I want to read very soon, but I've just been reading slow the past few weeks. But with that said, I think I gotta end it because I gotta go to jujitsu before well, I have to get there and get ready. We're rolling the whole time, so I might have time to stream again later. I have no promise on that. I had a friend that had a death in the family, so I need to go visit him, go hang out with him. So if I can get everything done, if I can do the things I gotta do, then I can be back. But I wouldn't count on it. I'll definitely stream for very long, to like a longer time tomorrow. I'm not sure how long I've been going, probably an hour and a half now. But yeah, love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. I have not read Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. I'm going to at some point. I'm gonna read all the classics at some point. It's just I haven't gotten to it yet. But oh, thank you for the live. Have a great rest of your day. Greetings. Really enjoy being here. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for being here. Thank you for becoming a member. You didn't have to do that. Far too generous. And yeah, thanks for the interesting questions. It's always fun when there's good questions, where there's good back and forth. It helps me like kind of get a feel of if I'm making sense or if I'm not making sense. Because I say some things and I'm like, I don't know if anyone got that except me. Yeah, peace out, everybody. Thank you guys for being here. Great stream. Catch you in the next one.